Good morning, everybody. My name's Kevin Nisbet. I'm the Innovation Project Manager at the Energy Innovation Agency. I'd just like to welcome you to our webinar this morning, the title of which is Measuring Your Carbon Footprint for Effective Decarbonisation. Basically, you can't manage what you can't measure. Looking at the agenda, first we'll hear from James Shorey from Planet Mark. That will be followed with my colleague Tahir Ali talking about the partnership and the collaboration that we are currently working with Planet Mark on. Then that will be followed with Linda Wade from SpinView, after which will be Michael Morris from Verve. Then we'll have the chance for a Q&A with all of the speakers. And then really just to close things off and say that, you know, the webinar will be on our website, and it would be great if those who are attending get in touch and have a chat with myself and the rest of the team at the agency. Without further ado, if I can just introduce James.
Introduction. My name is James Shorey. I am the Partnerships Manager at Planet Mark. Today I'm going to be speaking to you a bit about Planet Mark and the work that we do and why it may be really applicable to some of the projects that you are working on and your businesses in general. So I hope it's really beneficial. Hopefully you can see my screen. You should be able to see the Eden Project biomes. The reason why we always put those on our title screen is that Planet Mark was started 12 years ago in partnership with the Eden Project. So our founder, Steve Malkin, and the founder of the Eden Project, Sir Tim Smith, actually came together and wanted to create a certification to demonstrate climate action, or businesses in the UK could demonstrate climate action through a robust certification. So that's why we came up with the Planet Mark, which is the certification you can see on screen. It's the badge of progress to demonstrate that businesses are decarbonising and actually becoming better businesses and not impacting the world around them in a negative way. So you can see some of the stats that we've achieved in the last few years. So you know, that amount of carbon emissions reduced, 800,000 plus is incredible, and we're really happy and really proud of that. The key differentiator between a regular carbon footprinting company and a certification like Planet Mark is that we set all of our members targets. So we actually say to all of our members, you need to achieve at least a 5% reduction in your scopes 1 and 2 every single year, or we decertify you. So we stop working with you, because we basically only want to make sure that we work with the most robust and the most dedicated businesses in the UK who want to make sure that they are decarbonising every single year. So we do decertify businesses who don't keep up with targets, but you know, I'm happy to say that 98% of businesses that we work with do achieve those targets, and actually the average, even though we have a 5% reduction target, the average is around 10 to 14% that our businesses actually achieve. So yeah, most of our businesses do even in excess of the targets we set them, which is amazing. When we do work at Planet Mark, we do all of our work based on these 3 core pillars. So measure, engage, and communicate. So the measurement piece is carbon footprinting. You can't manage what you haven't measured. The only way you can actually reduce your emissions is by understanding what your emissions are in the first place. So we help our members do a robust scope 1, 2, and 3 measurement, and then we help them identify the hotspots and where they can reduce and get those 5% reductions. But just as important are the engage and communication pillars. It's all well and good doing a really nice carbon footprint, but if you put it on a shelf for a year and don't do anything with it, then you have 0 impact and you drive 0 climate action. So making sure that you engage with all of your staff, your clients, your supply chain, and your wider community is really important. And you've got to make sure that you do it in a way that is transparent, and you communicate in a way that does not come across greenwashy or incorrect. So you've got to make sure that you are communicating about your journey in the correct way and as transparently and honestly as possible as well. And those are the core tenets of what we try and do here at Planet Mark. And these are some of the members that we work with. You know, it's a nice list of some cool companies, hopefully some recognizable ones. But the real reason why I wanted to put this on screen is just to show off all the different industries that we work with. It's not just, you know, construction companies or plane companies or anything like that. It's every single industry that needs to be more sustainable, whether that is legal, construction, schools, trade associations, retail. All of these businesses on screen are on the same journey. They might have different challenges and different emission hotspots, but they're all trying to decarbonize and become better businesses, and that's what we try to help with. And the other thing that we help with, and sort of one of the main drivers around this, is the policy and compliance landscape as well. So I won't go into detail about all of this, but hopefully this gives you a taste of, for Planet Mark and our members, they're under a lot of political and compliance pressure from international drivers all the way down to UK and EU regulations as well. So things like SECA, ESOS, CSRD that companies have to comply with. Planet Mark, we try and help all of our members stay on the right side and in compliance with all the rules they need to. And we don't just base it on our own certification. We make sure that all of this work is based on the key frameworks, the key leading international frameworks like the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, Science Based Targets Initiative, IFRS, so that our members aren't just staying compliant, but they're aligning with the right frameworks and aligning with them in the right way. So this is just one way that we try and make sure all of our members aren't just demonstrating decarbonization, but they're staying in line with policy and they're doing it in the right way. When you measure your carbon footprint, you measure based on scopes 1, 2, and 3, and that is defined by the Greenhouse Gas Protocol. A lot of people assume that the building that you work in and the cars that you drive as part of your work or the planes you get in are usually your highest sources of emissions, and they are quite high, and they are a big part of a company's emissions. But actually, what a lot of people don't realize is actually scope 1 and 2 is usually a lot smaller than scope 3. And this example graph really highlights that. Sometimes a lot of people are guilty of thinking, yes, it's the buildings, it's the planes, it's the cars, but actually a lot of the time it's where your supply chain, where you spend your money, and also sometimes your finances as well, like who you're investing with. Those can sometimes be the biggest parts of your emission, and that really just highlights the importance of doing a carbon footprint. Without actually doing the measurements and working with an external partner to help you do that, you would never know where your emission hotspots are, and you might spend a lot of time and effort changing recycling bins and changing it to LED light bulbs, and then realizing that actually was less than 1% of your emissions, and actually that's not going to help you towards your decarbonization goals. When you think about net zero as well, net zero is about setting an end goal and decarbonizing towards that. That's all it is. So for the UK, the country as a whole has set a target, the government has set a target of 2050, whereby it wants to reduce the entire country's emissions by 90%. That is enshrined in law. What it does, what the country has done is also expected that all organizations, private or public, try and align with these goals as well. So what we do with our 700 business members is help them set net zero targets of 2050, or actually sooner as well, and try and help them define a strategy of how they're going to do that. So ultimately, it all comes down to measuring your scopes 1, 2, and 3 every single year. Firstly, doing a baseline measurement, and then doing measurements every year where you can demonstrate the incremental reductions that you're making. But ultimately, yeah, it's all about just decarbonizing, becoming a more efficient business, and staying in line with policy and legislation as well. So when you plot it, this is what a net zero graph ideally would look like, with an end goal. Potentially you'd have an interim target, so like a 50% reduction target, as you work towards your 90% reduction target by your end goal. But coming back to what I said before, just making sure you have a really good and third-party verified scope 1, 2, and 3 measurement, and just making sure you do that every year is the way that you you start your net zero journey and make sure you are in line with all the regulations. The way that Planet Mark helps businesses do this is through our certification. So I mentioned our our Planet Mark certified business certification. That's effectively just making sure that all businesses are taking climate action and measuring their scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions every year. That's all it is. For a lot of businesses, they then want to align with the UK's net zero targets. That's where our net zero committed certification comes in. We help businesses, once they've done their emission measurements, we help them do their target setting, which target is right for them, help them define a net zero transition strategy document, and then help them create the governance structures to actually make sure they are, year by year, actually achieving their goals and decarbonizing on a regular basis, identifying emission hotspots and implementing implementing solutions like solar panels or electric vehicle fleets that will help them get there. The net zero aligned and achieved are just variations on the committed. That is effectively where you aligned is where you've hit your interim target of 50% reductions, and net zero achieved is where you've hit your final target of 90% reductions. None of our members actually achieved either of those two certifications. I think next year we might have our first few members hitting their net zero aligned 50% reduction targets a couple of years early before 2030, which would be amazing. But no one's got it quite yet. They will do as we get closer to 2030 and then onwards to 2050, which is really exciting. But yeah, this is my final slide, just to summarize and say, a decarbonisation journey or a net zero journey, you should try not to think about it as a big cost saving, a cost exercise. It's very much an exercise where there are plenty of benefits to be seen, whether that is reputational, demonstrating industry leadership, regulatory compliance, and just becoming a more efficient business. There's lots of really great side effects of decarbonizing. What I would say as well is that a lot of businesses are doing a lot of these solutions and implementing a lot of these projects without realizing how much carbon they're saving while they do it. So a really great example is solar panels. Solar panels are now one of the cheapest forms of electricity anywhere in the world, and a lot of businesses are doing it just because it saves them a lot of money, but they don't realize that actually, as well as saving money and decentralizing yourself from the grid, you could actually celebrate a lot of carbon savings as well as that. So before you start doing those projects, I would implore all of you to think about doing a carbon footprint beforehand. So please do a carbon footprint, do that project you were going to do anyway and see all the financial and efficiency benefits that you would. And then if you do a carbon footprint afterwards, you can basically compare the before and after carbon footprints and demonstrate how much carbon you've saved. And that's a really great secondary thing to celebrate as well. So it's all of those little projects that you might have been doing anyway, LED light bulbs, electrifying your car fleet, all these things are things that make business sense but also save a lot of carbon. So please make sure you do a carbon footprint before and do a carbon footprint after. And yes, if anyone does have any questions or want any help, I've put my contact details on the screen, so please do reach out. We've also got lots of free webinars and events coming up all through the year and get into next year as well, so please use the QR code and look at those. I do actually have two case study videos lined up after this, so I'll let those play after here. Hopefully one of the energy innovation team can do that, and then yeah, we'll play those videos and then it's back over to you guys. So thank you very much.
Achieving net zero is a significant undertaking. Commercially, yes, it's a customer requirement, but it's more than that. It's that Marshall reflects hard. This project we start from scratch, and as many other organizations, we didn't have the essential knowledge. Partnering with Planet Mark, it's easier. They smooth the path.
I think there's a societal awareness about the environment and there's an appetite for change. So the main catalyst to get on board was our larger customers. We're away into the implementation now, and we're finding that there are benefits. One has been improved supplier relationships. They're more robust now. And the other one has been improved data accuracy with our Scope 3 data. We've engaged with a lot of our supplier base to get them to fill in the emissions accurately. We're already in a position where we can accurately report on cost savings, things like optimizing freight and reducing packaging in our products. A real help with this was our collaboration with Planet Mark. They essentially took the mystery out of that for both us and our suppliers.
We recently changed our packaging, so we took the opportunity to review the design of the boxes. It's not all about bringing an option that is 100% recycled and recyclable. It's changed our cycle time, so it's easier to pack, it's easier to assemble the box. So I think what the organization should know is that net zero brings opportunity for improvement.
We know we're winning when residents who live on estates like Ferrari Park say, I live in a really healthy, responsible development that's making a good contribution to the city.
I think sustainability is important, I mean, in the industry in general, but it's important in Friary Park because in our new development, we want to ensure that the properties are well built, insulated, and not harmful to the environment. We've worked very hard with the residents from the beginning, really, doing lots of workshops, mapping out the types of homes that they want. They wanted homes that were safe, they wanted homes that were well insulated, carbon friendly, and we've taken that on board and brought our designers in and produced homes that reflect that.
One of our biggest impacts is on sites like this, construction activity. What can we do to reduce the carbon impact of our construction? We've delivered some fabulous outcomes since we've been intentional about it. A 48% absolute reduction in carbon from our business, an 88% reduction per employee on a relative basis. That puts us in the top 1.5% of brilliant Planet Mark members.
The built environment contributes to around 40% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and that's why we're really excited to be working with a company like Mount Anvil who are driving positive action to make an impact.
Planet Mark, third-party verification, hugely important to us, firstly because measurement, data collection, benchmarking is how we as a business drive better development and construction activity. And we want to gather reliable data that we can look at across all of our business operations, all of our construction sites, and we want it from credible experts.
Thank you, James. It's a pleasure to be here today, partnering with Planet Mark to highlight the importance of accurately measuring carbon footprints as the first step in any decarbonisation journey. This vital step gives businesses the insights that they need to understand their environmental impact and take meaningful action. However, measuring emissions is just the start. True decarbonisation requires innovative solutions, scalable technologies, and bold action. This is where the Energy Innovation Agency comes in. Based in Greater Manchester, we're leading the push for a low-carbon economy by deploying transformative energy technologies. It's not just about cutting-edge solutions, though, but also building systems, infrastructure, and partnerships for systemic change in how we generate, consume, and store energy. With partners like Planet Mark, we're turning decarbonisation into a reality, transforming industries, communities, and the economy. The agency's mission is to accelerate decarbonisation by advancing innovative energy technologies and facilitating their integration into mainstream business and industry practices. Our role goes beyond simply supporting the development of new technologies. We focus on making these innovations scalable and accessible to businesses of all sizes. Through our projects and partnerships, we are creating a more sustainable energy landscape and tackling some of the most pressing issues in the energy sector. We have a key focus on areas including renewable energy. We are at the forefront of promoting clean energy solutions such as wind, solar, and emerging technologies like tidal energy. Our goal is to reduce businesses' reliance on fossil fuels, enabling a shift to renewable sources that are both cost-effective and sustainable. For example, we have been involved in deploying large-scale solar projects that help businesses achieve energy independence whilst drastically cutting their carbon emissions. Through these projects, we've seen companies transition to 100% renewable energy, reducing their emissions by tens of thousands of tonnes annually. Improving energy efficiency. This is one of the quickest ways businesses can reduce their carbon footprint, whilst also saving on costs. And so we help businesses implement smarter energy systems which optimize consumption, improve performance, and drive down costs. Projects in this area have included retrofitting buildings with advanced insulation, installing smart meters and energy management systems, and upgrading systems to energy-saving LEDs, changes which have helped businesses reduce their energy consumption by up to 30%, with the savings being reinvested back into their operations. We are also pioneering work in smart grid and energy storage, which enables a smarter, more flexible energy grid through solutions that allow renewable energy to be stored for later use and integrated seamlessly into the power grid. Our projects in this area are helping communities and businesses build energy resilience by providing backup power, smoothing out energy demand, and reducing the cost of electricity for consumers. We've also been involved in creating virtual power plants that aggregate renewable energy from multiple sources and feed it back into the grid when demand spikes. And finally, carbon capture and storage, or CCS, as it's known, which is essential for industries that can't entirely eliminate their emissions. Our work is advancing CCS technologies that capture CO2 emissions from industrial processes and either store them underground or repurpose them for use in other sectors, such as creating synthetic fuels. We are working on pioneering CCS projects in industries like cement, steel, and chemicals, where emissions are difficult to eliminate completely. These technologies allow us to capture millions of tons of CO2 each year, significantly reducing overall industrial emissions. By focusing on these areas, the agency is helping to create a comprehensive, sustainable energy ecosystem that's not just about reducing carbon emissions, but also about enabling businesses to thrive in a low-carbon economy. The agency plays a key role in decarbonising critical sectors of the economy, while measuring and reducing carbon footprints is essential. Integrating innovative energy technologies is equally important for driving lasting change. The agency provides the technologies, infrastructure, and expertise to help businesses transition to a low-carbon model. And we do this by supporting innovative energy solutions that help businesses reduce both their energy consumption and their carbon emissions. From solar power to EV infrastructure and smart grids, these solutions accelerate decarbonisation and deliver long-term results. Driving systemic change, we recognise that decarbonisation requires change across industries, and so we will collaborate with governments, local authorities, and international coalitions to create a framework and policies that support clean energy innovations and global adoption of low-carbon technologies. And through building scalable infrastructure, we not only make clean energy technologies scalable and affordable for businesses of all sizes, but by expanding solutions like smart grids, energy storage, and EV charging infrastructure, we're making low-carbon options accessible worldwide. Our approach isn't just about adopting new technologies. It's about creating a system where innovation, sustainability, and efficiency are built into every aspect of business and industry. The collaboration between the agency and Planet Mark is key to helping businesses achieve a comprehensive decarbonisation strategy. While Planet Mark helps with measuring emissions and setting sustainability goals, we then provide the tools, technologies, and solutions to achieve them. And the key benefit of this is having a single point of contact to take you through the whole journey from A to Z. We create a real-world impact. Our work is already making a measurable difference in the real world, and I can share some of those examples with you. In social housing, we're helping social housing providers reduce carbon emissions by installing energy efficiency solutions into gas boilers, whilst also saving money for tenants on their gas bills. Through energy efficiency, through our efficiency programs, businesses have reduced the energy consumption by up to 30%, with many achieving significant cost savings. We've helped companies install smart meters, energy efficient lighting, and building insulation, solutions that are delivering both environmental and financial benefits. And renewable energy. The agency has been instrumental in helping businesses transition to 100% renewable energy, providing them with the tools to harness wind, solar, and other clean energy sources. These transitions are driving down emissions and reducing energy costs for businesses. As we look to the future, we remain committed to driving forward decarbonisation through innovative, scalable solutions. We're working on initiatives in the circular economy to help businesses not only reduce emissions, but to also create value from waste through better resource management, recycling, and upcycling. Our work is not limited to the UK. We're expanding our partnerships globally to help scale decarbonisation efforts worldwide, sharing knowledge and best practice across borders to accelerate the global transition to a low-carbon economy. And we will continue to drive innovation, supporting those low-carbon tech businesses developing new energy-saving and carbon-reducing technologies, as well as enabling organisations in all sectors and industries to implement those solutions which are most effective for them. So to wrap up today, I hope you can see that the Energy Innovation Agency is leading the way in decarbonising energy systems and enabling businesses to reduce their carbon footprints through innovative technologies and solutions. From renewable energy and energy efficiency to electric vehicles, and carbon capture, we're providing businesses with the tools that they need to create a cleaner, more sustainable future. Together with Planet Mark, we're accelerating the transition to a low carbon economy, driving real, lasting change. Thanks for your time. We have a Q&A session coming up shortly, so if you have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box and I will answer them later. Before we get on to that, we are delighted to be joined by two businesses from our Innovator Network. We're going to tell you about their solutions. So I'll first hand you over to Linda Wade from SpinView.
Thank you, Tahir. Hi everyone, I'm Linda Wade. I'm the CEO of SpinView. I want to start today with a really simple question. What if we could open a report and instantly see all of our carbon baseline, the behaviour about our emissions, and a clear set of actions on how to reduce them, all the reporting done, and all of your compliance all finished and generated just in a few minutes? And I'm not talking just a snapshot, I'm talking a full auditable plan that tells you exactly what to do next. For most organisations, this level of clarity is still not easy to reach. And the reason baselines are so difficult isn't because of a lack of intent. It's the fact that buildings are living environments, and the behaviour isn't visible when information sits in different places. We've got energy, occupancy, equipment schedules, maintenance logs, air quality, weather, each of them influencing your carbon footprint, but none of them sitting in the same systems. So instead of one reliable baseline, we get partial data gaps, mismatched systems, and patterns that can't be seen in isolation. Fundamentally, it's not knowledge gaps that we generally have, it's actually visibility gaps. And this is where SpinView fits in. We act as an intelligence layer for an estate. We bring together spaces, systems, and data into one clear view so that you can understand what's happening now, what happened before, and what's likely to happen next, and what you can do about it. So think of it like an air traffic control system for buildings. When you can see and control everything, and you know where everything is and what's happening, all from a single system, you can view a single room to your entire portfolio in one go. It helps you see behaviour and relationships, not just readings. So let's look. At the portfolio level, you can immediately see where your buildings are and how they start to behave as a system. Your total emissions distributed across an entire estate and where carbon intensity is the highest. So we start to give you a clear baseline to show where to prioritise attentions. And when we step inside the building, the behaviour becomes visible. You can start to see patterns, daytime, nighttime, weekend drift, ramp up, ramp down, holidays, everything, things that drive unnecessary carbon. You can see exactly when emissions rise, why they spike, and which systems or behaviours are causing them. Now, this is what turns carbon measurement into something practical. We're not looking at numbers, we're looking at cause. And this is where it lands. From that unified data, you can automatically generate complete carbon intelligence reports covering your baselines, the patterns, the trends, the costs, the emission drivers, and the priority actions. Those reports that used to take weeks and many people to create can arrive now in seconds, minutes, and are consistent, accurate, and repeatable. Because everything is presented in clear, easy, plain language or visuals, it becomes easy to bring your team with you. Instead of having to understand how to read complex reports or understand graphs, you can start to ask what is driving the carbon hotspot, and you'll get an answer in plain English or another language. And this is how you start to create internal engagement. You start to provide understanding, not just the why, the what. And actions can be then sent to people so they never even have to read any of these, and they just need to understand why they need to do something and what they need to do. So if your data doesn't look neat and tidy today, and it feels a little bit like this, That's completely normal. Most organisations start with gaps. You can still begin. Effective decarbonisation doesn't start with technology, it starts with clarity. Clarity about your baseline, clarity about the behaviour behind it, and clarity on what to do next. So when the pieces finally sit together, this mess, this paper, starts to look a little bit like this. It can very quickly become something that people can make sense of and look something like this. When everything is unified, patterns become visible, decisions become easier, and action becomes confidence-led. So unify what you have, understand what's happening, and optimise from there. Thank you. I'm really happy to answer questions shortly, but for now, I'm going to hand over to Michael from Verve for the next part of the session. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael Morris from Verve, and I'm very pleased to be here this morning to talk to you about our solution. So Verve, we're a UK climate tech company, and we're looking to challenge the harmful cycle of heating and cooling systems. When we talk about the harmful cycle, we like to look at it in two different channels. The first is the increased demand for air conditioning, and that's firmly being driven by the increase of global temperatures due to climate change. That then, feeds the need for the energy demand and increases the risk of refrigerant gases then emitting from breakages or damage in systems, which then further impacts climate change. We then have inefficient maintenance. In 2024, the estimated global spend on HVAC maintenance was around £84 billion. And we know there's a significant amount of waste and opportunity there to optimize maintenance to be better. So Verve, as a company, we want to deliver on three different things. We measure, manage, and maintain to help break out of those harmful cycles. So from a measurement perspective, we're able to provide high resolution data in real time regarding the energy consumption of any asset that we're connected to. From a management perspective, our technology allows us to be device agnostic and allows us to provide switching of any of the appliances or plant equipment that we connect to. And in certain cases, we can also deliver remote management of indoor air conditioning units via infrared. From a maintenance perspective, this is where we see one of the biggest opportunities in our USPs, and that's the fact that we're able to deliver what we call high-speed data or high-resolution data of the appliances or plant equipment we connect to. We deliver that through a 10 kilohertz sample rate, and to put that into perspective, a building management system will sample a building system every 10 to 15 minutes. What we're able to do with our technology is to sample any plant or appliance that we're connected to at 10,000 times a second. So that then allows us to begin to study things like the harmonics of the devices. And by studying those harmonics, we're able to understand baselines, we're able to detect anomalies, and ultimately we're able to apply machine learning and AI algorithms to be able to detect faults and predict faults before they occur. So how do we do that? We do that through a combination of our hardware and our SaaS or our platform. So our hardware is a standard retrofit. In most cases, a qualified electrician can easily install our products. Once they're installed, they go through a commissioning process, which is about 5 to 10 minutes. And then from that point, they begin transmitting live data in real time to our cloud platform. Our cloud platform, which our clients access, allows them to see insights of the assets they're connected to, make better informed decisions about optimization to prevent energy waste, and in certain cases they will take control and switch devices. We also apply our machine learning in the background, and our fault detection in the background, I should say, which allows us to deliver things like alerts for faults that are detected, and alongside that to be able to do alerts and notifications for devices that may potentially be operating outside of scheduled hours. So don't take my word for it. One of our clients in London were able to deliver an 84% reduction in weekend energy consumption for one of their tenanted office spaces. We've got similar success stories with the likes of Mitsubishi, where we're able to deliver some simple optimization to reduce energy waste and cost savings. So ideally, we'd love a lot more companies to follow in the footsteps of our early adopters, and allow us to take you on this journey to break out of this harmful cycle of heating and of inefficient heating and cooling systems. So yeah, thank you. I'm Michael. Please, let us know if you have any questions about the technology presented today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. If I could just invite the speakers to join the webinar. Great. We've got a few questions. The first one is for James. James, could you confirm the 4 certification levels that Planet Mark provides? And also, is this certification accredited with any other agency, or is it only provided by Planet Mark?
So the certifications that Planet Mark provide are our own product. They're the Net Zero certification program by Planet Mark. We have an external governance board who make sure we keep in line with our own scheme rules. But all of those rules are based on the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, Science Based Targets Initiative, Transition Plan Task Force. We haven't redefined the wheel. We've very much just packaged it in a way that makes sense for our members and that we think is a really good way to approach the challenge of net zero and decarbonisation. But yeah, we're actually seeing ISO. They're going to be producing a net zero official standard, like a 14,000, and I'm not sure, but they're going to follow like a similar program where they have like 4 or 5 different stages, because you can't just achieve net zero straight away. It's like a stepped approach. So I think they're going to be doing something very similar to us as well. So you'll see lots of things like it.
That's great. Thanks, James. Question for yourself to hear. How does the collaboration with Planet Mark and the agency benefit a commercial organisation? You're on mute to hear.
Apologies. It allows companies to create that roadmap, basically, so that they can. It's really important to be able to measure your carbon footprint at the start of any journey, so you know where to make the changes and how to make those changes. And working with the Planet Mark, that allows us to do that. And once we've identified where the weak spots are within a company or an organisation, we can then recommend and implement the sort of physical solutions and continue monitoring right through the process. So it's important to know where you're starting from, and obviously you're able to measure as you progress.
Great, thanks to hear. A question for yourself, Linda. How granular does energy monitoring need to be to change behaviour in a building?
It doesn't. Quite often we actually find that people still have paper bills, and we can actually help with the digitisation of those. And if we can get the last year of payments and actual energy consumption, we can give you a really good comprehensive report. And we do that by combining it with public holidays, weekends, those kind of trends, which then allow you to then start making suggestions of what might change, and then monitor that over time and start to compare, so that we can remove, if there was a hot day, a cold day, those kind of things that actually change the consumption of the building, how many people were in there. So you don't really need very much. And if you don't have anything, that's fine. We can help you on the journey. But the more you have, the more comprehensive it will be. But we can start with very, very little.
Great. Thanks, Linda. And for yourself, Michael, what would you say is the sort of biggest energy waste in an HVAC system?
Hi, thanks, Kevin. The biggest energy waste from HVAC, unfortunately, continues to be around out of hours use. Although we see a lot of commercial buildings with building management systems in place, that have time schedules for equipment, a lot of the time that is overridden locally through local controllers. and what we typically tend to find is it's actually more prudent in newer buildings opposed to the older buildings. So buildings that are 5 years old or less, and that's typically because they're set up for open, and then it's just left. So things change in that period of time. However, the BMS or the time schedules aren't updated, and they're just completely out of sync. So yeah, we tend to find a lot of waste, unfortunately, is within time schedules or the plant equipment being used outside of the specified hours.
Great, thanks, Michael. I've just got a general question for everybody, really. What do you see as the biggest barrier for people turning words into action, to actually take action and look at the monitoring and look at their energy use and going down this journey of decarbonisation? I'll just throw that out to all four of our speakers.
I think it depends who you're speaking to, right? It depends what their motivation is. I'm gonna press a button here and throw a grenade in the room and say that usually when you're speaking to sustainability professionals, they're interested. They're the people you feel like you need to speak to get an advocate, but in most cases they don't have any decision-making power within an organization. So although we've sort of focused historically on speaking to people within sustainability, actually, in fact, they make the journey far longer than it needs to be at times. If you can get directly to decision makers who are usually within operations or finance, the adoption becomes a lot faster.
Great, thanks, Michael. I think Linda, you.
I was going to say some of those things, but I think the main thing is people, from our experience, are generally afraid of technology. A lot of the technologies, they don't necessarily understand it, and they revert back to the way that they've always done it. And actually, it doesn't have to be that hard. The platform can be, you can go into there as much as you want to go into technology, but ultimately, you can just receive text messages with information on in a way that you can consume, or display things as simple as red or green. It doesn't have to be as hard as people might think it really needs to be. And also they go, oh, it's going to cost me a fortune and I don't have the budgets for it. So they just keep pushing it down the road. And the same thing, it can be very inexpensive to get really, really good data readings. And it really is like literally a few pennies or pounds. You don't have to break the bank. You don't have to break your budgets, and it can actually save significant sums of money down the road. So it's not always as scary as a lot of people that we find in the businesses think it might be.
Great. Thanks, Linda. Any thoughts, James, to hear?
Yeah, I would echo what Linda and Michael have said. I find when I'm speaking to companies that there's a fear about having to bring in too many partners, too many companies to support them on the journey. It can be simplified, and I think that's where we come into it in terms of bringing the right partners to the table and supporting the end user on that journey. And I think it's inherent in a lot of companies that feel that it's going to be expensive bringing in multiple partners, and trying to create a strategic approach and join it all together is a big challenge for these companies. So I think that's where we have a real positive advantage.
Great, thanks to hear. And James?
Yeah, I think Michael's point was perfect. Like sustainability, it's very infrequent that you find an organization where there is a board level sustainability representative or someone in the decision-making powers. So one of the most popular webinars we actually put on ourselves at Planet Mark is how do you get the board on board with sustainability, because it's just one of the biggest barriers. Like, how do you get decision backing to actually implement some of these projects, which a lot of the time will have massive financial savings, but because of potential upfront cost or just fear of change, a lot of people veer away from it. I think the other points made really hit home about when it's a sustainability professional, they have this amazing image of making all this change and doing all these projects, but 95% of the time they find is doing reporting themselves, or having to go through the data. And if they just used a cool piece of technology or used an external consultant, or both, that would free them up to actually implement some of these amazing projects and actually make some amazing financial and carbon savings. So definitely just using external help and trying to get some board level backing as well. Probably my advice.
Thanks, James. And yeah, just finally, just to thank all of the speakers for taking the time to take part in this webinar. And I hope the audience have found the presentations of use, and also, some of the questions and some of the answers to those questions are helpful in the journey, hopefully, that you're on, going down the road of decarbonisation. Finally, just to say, the webinar will be posted on our website, and please do get in contact either with myself or the rest of the team for a chat just about where you are in this journey and the support that we can provide as the agency, and along with the companies that you've seen today. Yeah, again, just many thanks for everybody for taking the time, and see you at the next one. Thank you.